Welcome all to the PR workshop for PR Week. We hope that this be an interactive session. I know a lot of you have a lot of experience in PR, and then there are some that are new to the concepts. So we want it to be an interactive discussion with your ESH and your experience on each of these topics. Amitabh, over to you.
Thank you, Divya. My name is Amitabh. I'm a recovering addict. I'm serving as a volunteer in this PR work group. And we had a meeting last month to decide what we were going to do on PR week. And with consensus, everyone said that a do's and don'ts would be nice. These are the things we should keep in mind when we are engaging with the public. These are important things to keep in mind. On the left are the do's, and on the right, there are the don'ts. There could be more. So, what we're going to try and do, like Divya was saying, this is an interactive session. We're going to look at each do first and then talk about some examples. What could happen if we don't do what we're supposed to do? Why is it important? What are the things to keep in mind? And all those things that go along with. It's important to remember that when we are dealing with the public, there are important things we need to keep in mind as a fellowship. Right? We have to have certain boundaries. Sitting in a recovery meeting or fellowshipping, we might be behave in a manner that all members behave like with each other, and which is fine, and that's an internal thing. But when we go and interact with the public, and the public is anyone that's not a Narcotics Anonymous member, right? So we are talking about everybody. We are talking about the government. We are talking about non-government organizations. We are talking about rehabilitation centers. We're talking about doctors. We're talking about the judiciary, the police, and all of those institutions and members of the public. Journalists and 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 so on and so on. So the first do is do be punctual and prepared. Why is it important? Let's take punctuality first. Why is it important to be punctual? Why is it important to be on time? If we've if you're going and meeting somebody, whether it's a member of the government, whether it's a professional, whether it's whoever that is not an NA member, could even be an addict's family, if there's a 12-step call. But for purposes of public relations, let's stick to professionals and government organizations. So why is it important to be punctual and not be late? Anyone?
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, recovering addict named Eric. It's like if you make an agreement to meet somebody at a certain time, right? And you don't show up or you show up late, it kind of degrades the trust that these new friends are going to have for you, you know? So being punctual isn't just about it's about honoring the agreement that you made, and people respect that. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. Anyone else would like to comment on it? I mean, suppose we are late, right? For example, I have an HNI meeting today. Yeah, Donnie, go ahead, please.
Aloha, family. I'm a great recovering addict. My name is Donnie. If we're speaking in a context, I'm assuming here, as a PR presentation, and we are meeting with, as you noted, anybody outside of Narcotics Anonymous, they're going to look to us as the face of NA. And if we don't follow through with the commitment that we said we would do, it potentially in a first meeting might make them look differently at us. We say we're going to be there at 8 o'clock and we show up at 8:30 and we're not prepared, because that's the first two, be prepared and be punctual. Then as has noted, we may lose the trust They might not send people to Narcotics Anonymous because as the face of NA, they might say, these people they're not serious. They're not on time. They're not ready. They're not prepared.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's interesting that, sometimes we land up early and the people we're going to meet are late. Is that okay? Is it okay to wait, or do we create a scene when that happens?
I
Suppose,
think, Amitabh, yes, I think it's okay. Because see, look, time management is one of the things that I want to do in my recovery. And as long as I'm on the right side, the other person is late. It's all right. They might have the reason something happened, especially in India. We got all these excuses, heavy traffic or whatever, diversions. Chief Minister was passing by in his motorcade, whatever. But, like you say, it's better to be even half an hour early. So what? It's good
yes,
for us.
yes, absolutely. Thank you, Raman. Thank you. All right, so let's move on. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Donnie. Thanks, Raman. Be prepared. Now, our tradition 8 says NA shouldn't be, we are not professional, but we may employ special workers to help us out, right? That's what tradition 8 says. So when people look at be prepared, someone can tell us, any member can say, well, we are not professionals, so we are not expected to be professional. But if you read the 8th tradition in It Works How and Why and in Guiding Principles, it says very clearly in those two books that even though we are not professionals with each other, right? We share our experience, strength, and hope with each other, and that's what the fellowship is about. We are professionals when we interact with the public, and so that's important. So why is it important? Maybe we can get Bappa, because Bappa is always doing technical stuff, and technical stuff requires preparation. So, Bappa, why do you think we need to be prepared, and what does that really mean?
Hey guys, I'm Bappa and Eric. So, from any point of view, you are going for a PR meet somebody for a particular purpose, right? Whether it's for a new meeting room, whether you just want to inform about Narcotics Anonymous, whether you to initiate an HNI presentation, you have a set goal in your mind, and you're approaching somebody to place in a request while also informing them about NA. Now, this has to have some sort of preparation in terms of maybe sometimes it needs a presentation, sometimes it needs a PR packet, sometimes you just get the thoughts in your head that when you present this to the gentleman sitting opposite you, irrespective of what that person's knowledge of NA is, you must be taken seriously. The person must be taking you seriously so that it appears that you know what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
you have to know, obviously, the time, the preparation, the commitment, all of it shows through. But you really have to sit down. This is not something that you take lightly, because if you do, even in our professional world, right? So all these things that you guys are talking about, when I followed this, it helped me immensely in my professional life. So I did that because I got something out of it. So if I have if I have a meeting 10 kilometers away, I know what do I have to do in order to be on time. Now, this is a practice that I got from concepts such as this and from lessons such as this. So it's incredibly important that it seems like you know what you're talking about, and you know the content, so that the request that you come up with is taken seriously and you achieve the goal that NA has sent you to achieve.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Bappa. Thank you. That's really well put. I just want to ask a question from somebody who hasn't really said anything so far. Uh, do all of you do HNI meetings? If you do HNI meetings, you want to raise your hand and tell us how you prepare before an HNI meeting starts? What do you do? Anyone can raise their hands. Please don't be shy. This is not going to be fun if just a few of us are going to. Yeah, Shaumitro. You want me to translate, Shaumitro?
या या मैं
Okay,
हिंदी
so
में कंफर्टेबल हूँ बोल देता हूँ
एक
मैं थोड़ा
सेंटेंस बोलिए.
बोलूंगा तू कर देगा
हाँ, एक सेंटेंस
ओके
बोलिएगा,
ओके
उसको मैं ट्रांसलेट करूंगा, ठीक है? Shaumitro, please go ahead.
ओके
Shaumitro will
ओके
speak in Hindi. I'll translate it in English. Go ahead, Shaumitro.
एडिक्ट सो मच नो गॉड गेस्ट क्लीन टुडे HNI करने से पहले मेनली जो हम लोग सोचते थे कि जब जाएंगे तो उसका ड्रेस कोड जो होता है जाने का, ऐसा कोई तो फिक्स कुछ नहीं है, प्रेजेंटेबल होना चाहिए, कोई फ्लैशी ज्वेलरी यूज ना हो तो अच्छा है, तो इस पे पहले ध्यान देना पड़ता है।
What Soumitra is saying is before we go for an HNI, the first thing we focus on is our clothes. We don't wear flashy jewelry or stuff like that. Go ahead, Soumitra.
तो मैं बहुत सारा HNI किया, तो जाके सब देखा मैंने कि वो जो प्रेजेंटेशन हम करते हैं हमें ज्यादातर फोकस रिकवरी में देना है, क्योंकि पहले 1-2 मिनट या 2-3 मिनट कह देते हैं कि यूजिंग का, लेकिन ज्यादा फोकस रखना चाहिए कि उसमें सोच रखना पड़ता है पहले कि
So
हमें
Soumitra is
यूजिंग
saying is
ज्यादा
when we
रिकवरी
okay,
कम ना हो
Soumitra,
जाए।
let me translate that. Soumitra is saying is when we go and do an
या
HNI presentation, we focus more on our recovery journey rather than on our using journey. So we talk about this before we go to an HNI meeting, that we're going to share more about recovery rather than about our using. Go ahead, Soumitra.
हाँ, क्योंकि ये कहना जरूरी है कि एनए से हमें मिला क्या आके, एनए मीटिंग से हमें मिला क्या आके कि जिसका ऊपर उसको अट्रैक्शन बने कि वो एनए में आए, तो ये
सौमित्रो सौमित्रो
मोटिवेशन उसको देना है।
सौमित्रो हम लोग तैयारी की बात कर रहे हैं कि आपस में क्या तैयारी आप लोग करते हैं, पहले से दिमाग में क्या डालते हैं।
हाँ, मैं वही कह रहा हूँ कि दिमाग में डालना पड़ता है कि मेरा ड्रेस कोड या फ्लैशी ज्वेलरी ऐसा
राइट
ना हो
राइट
जाए, क्या मेंटेन
राइट
होना चाहिए,
राइट
क्या ये वो प्रेजेंटेशन के टाइम पे अपने एक्सपीरियंस में ज्यादा यूजिंग निकल ना जाए, रिकवरी
राइट
ज्यादा होना चाहिए, इन्हें से
राइट
हमें मिला क्या है ये होना चाहिए।
राइट
फिर एक्चुअल टाइम और पंक्चुअलिटी बहुत बड़ा बात है, क्योंकि जहां से हम रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं तो उसका टाइम फिक्स रहता है कि उससे पहले हमें पहुंचना है, किसी भी तरह वो लेट ना हो जाए, क्योंकि हम ये नहीं इमेज कैरी कर रहे हैं।
So Soumitra is saying is we reach before time and we stick to the time allotted for the presentation. If it's 40 minutes, we don't exceed 40 minutes. All right, Soumitra, thank you. We'll move on. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks. Right. So that's a way we prepare, right? And we prepare for everything that way, right? We talk amongst ourselves. Sometimes we do mock presentations within the fellowship. Okay. Next point is do follow up on your commitments. So what does that mean? Follow up on your commitments. What are the commitments that NA public relations makes generally? An example of it? Anybody?
Do you mean like follow up after a presentation? Is that
Yeah.
what you mean?
Yep. Yep.
Well, usually, once you do a presentation, or some PR event, we usually follow up with, maybe not a questionnaire, but at least touch base with the people and say thank you. Was there anything that you needed help on with that, or anything else that we could do for you? And tell them we're available next time you'd like us to come speak, something like that, just to
Yeah.
kind of keep a relationship going with whoever it was.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's the key. Thank you, Eric. So it is called public relations, right? So relations is building a relationship, right? So we follow up. Whatever we do, we follow up after that. Pooja?
Hi, my name is Pooja. I'm an addict. Usually in PR or even HNI presentations, there's always a list of action items at the end. It could be dropping off extra literature. It could be passing on meeting lists. There are maybe things that we commit to that we will do within a certain deadline, which is either part of the follow up. It can be even before. So if we say, hey, I'm going to come on the 10th of June, we better show up. So for me, that's what, like showing up for commitments would mean. Follow
Right,
up on our commitments.
right, right. Important. Thank you. Thank you, Pooja. Anyone else before we move on to
I
our
would like to
favorite?
add a point.
Yeah.
We finish a PR presentation. They're happy with what we've done and said. it's a good time there to even slip in maybe a follow-up round of presentation, that we've discussed with the management. We will be here again on, in December. It's a great segue, and we've already got a foot in the door, and we should do regular follow-ups in that sense as well.
Yeah. Yep. 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 All right. Let's move on to the favorite that we have. Do dress neatly and act pleasantly. And in NA we have various interpretations of various things, right? And this question is something that I've heard so many definitions of. What is dressing neatly, right? And that's what it is. Dress neatly. Exactly what someone is going to wear or not, we can have a debate about it. What is appropriate, what is not. But what is, in simple terms, what is dressing neatly and acting pleasantly? The simplest way to say it. Maybe we can get someone who hasn't said anything. Anyone? Okay. Reena?
Hi, Rina Addict. So I think for me, it would be how you would dress for a job and act in a job, especially in a service industry, pleasant, polite, courteous, professional, and make sure you don't distort or dilute the NA message.
Brilliant.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And thank you for using the word professional, because we sometimes look at the word professional with a very negative, what do you mean? We are not professionals. Why are you using the word professional? But we, like Reena said, we need to behave in a manner that we behave in the outside world. We behave differently in conventions. We behave differently in fellowshipping. We could be screaming and shouting and hugging and clapping and doing all sorts of those things. But you know, can you land up wearing shorts at a PR presentation? Is that okay? Anybody? Is it okay to land up at a PR presentation wearing shorts?
Well, I wouldn't do it. I mean, it's like what she was saying was right on. It's kind of like what I learned, when I became a regional PI chair and I was going around. I mean, I really didn't know much except what I had in this book because I didn't have that much experience at the time, So we had I remember one of the sessions, we would have training sessions, for our PI presentations, as we called it then, you know, and, dress appropriately or dress neatly. And one of the members was a biker, you know, and so he was always dressed up in leathers and all this stuff. And one of the members was actually saying, you can't come to this because you're going to look like a biker, and they're going to discriminate against us because you look like a biker. So we had a long talk about that, and I remember saying it's about how you act and being a, like applying for a job, right? Now, if you're applying for a job as a someone who's going to be picking up trash, well, you don't have to really dress up, I mean, that kind of thing. But at this kind of event, we're presenting NA, so we need to dress appropriately. That means I'm not going to wear my Led Zeppelin shirt, nobody's going to wear those kind of things. And, NA shirts, yeah, we could do that, but just dress, like you're applying for a job, and we talked about it, and he had his jacket, but he took off his jacket and he was wearing, nice clothes, because the thing is that, we're carrying the message, right? And we want to impress upon them that, NA is a good place for addicts to come to find recovery, etc. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. Shamito, we'll move on. You can take up the next one, maybe. Okay.
Amitabh, just give me a minute, please. Just a minute. I had an incident to share, if it's okay. I see we had the regional table in Chennai. Surajit was the chair, and we had a PR with the TV and all that. And I landed up there. I was selected to speak. And then the last moment, one of the ex-com guys said, no, but he's wearing earrings, And I said, okay, if that's going to be bad, I'll take it out. But you know what Surajit told that guy? He said, look here, man, NA encourages us to recover in our own culture and language. And it's the culture of India for men to wear earrings. So there's no real fault, or there's no real problem with that. It's not going to distort the NA image in any way. But otherwise, I was very well dressed in formals and all that. But I'm just saying a case in point here, that we need to also be conscious that we are in our own culture also, so that should be allowed, I think.
Right. Thanks, Raman. We have to ask Shaumitro now because his hand was up and we told him we'll wait till the next
Oh,
question.
sorry.
Shaumitro,
Oh,
yeah, no, it's
yeah.
fine. Shaumitro, you wanted to say something, add something?
या नहीं नहीं मेरा मेरा एक ही कहना है उनका आइडेंटिटी क्लैश ना हो जाए ये ध्यान पे रखना चाहिए क्योंकि हम लोग का सोसाइटी में बहुत सारा आइडेंटिटी होता है मैं एक एग्जांपल एक सेकंड के लिए बोलूंगा एक मिनट की मैं अभी पीआई का वाइस चेयर हूँ कलकत्ता में लेकिन विलिंगनेस के टाइम मैंने बोल दिया था कि बहुत सारा जगह है मेरा सोशली इन्वॉल्वमेंट आज के दिन में तो बहुत सारा जगह हो सकता है पीआर में कि मेरा डुअल आइडेंटिटी क्लैश कर सकता है तो इसलिए बहुत सारा जगह होगा जहां पे मैं वो इंटरेक्ट नहीं करूंगा पब्लिक इंटरेक्शन में लेकिन मैं मैनेजमेंट में रहूंगा एडमिन में रहूंगा इंटरेक्शन में नहीं रहूंगा क्योंकि मेरा आइडेंटिटी क्लैश हो सकता है थैंक यू ये
So
देखना बहुत जरूरी है
What Shaumitro is doing is sharing is that your identity as a professional is also something that you need to keep in mind. For example, if you are working in a rehabilitation industry or you are a rehabilitation professional, he's PR vice chair in Calcutta, but he personally stays away from public presentations because some people in the areas the PR committee goes, they might recognize him as a rehabilitation professional. And that might confuse people, in the sense that they might presume that NA is connected to rehabs. So, as a matter of personal choice, he works behind the scenes, but he stays away from being the face of NA in some way or the other as a personal decision. Thank you, Shomito. That's a really important point. Thank you for pointing it out. Let's move on quickly. Ernie says she's driving somewhere. Okay. Ernie, we'll get back to you. Maybe you can even message us in chat if you can. Do behave with dignity and humility. I think we probably covered that in dress neatly and act pleasantly, or do we need to share something on dignity and humility? Does someone want to add something? Eric, you look like you want to say, no, Eric from Guam. You look like you want to really say
Guam,
something.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Eric, and I'm an addict. I'm just listening to all of you guys, and the first 4 points is for me is I agree wholly. It's really about professionalism. Where there's the stigmata of the addicts of how we used to look and act in our days of using. And for me, PR is to counter that stigmata. If we act and still look like we're still using, that's we're still keeping with that's how people are going to treat us. But if we're gonna present ourselves professionally, and if we're gonna show up on time, and if we're gonna speak well and present the NA program well, and that's how we're countering the stigmata that people think of what addicts what addicts are. Thank you.
Eric, I presume you mean stigma, right? Not stigmata, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because stigmata would be a weird thing to kind of counter.
Thanks for the correction.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That was a pretty cool movie, Stigmata, I remember. Anyway, Pooja, sorry, please go ahead.
I feel that dignity and humility, I think we covered dignity before in our dressing and our overall behavior, but I think humility is really important for us to remember because when we go and meet anyone outside of Narcotics Anonymous representing NA, it's very important for me to keep in mind that NA is not the only solution for addiction. So for me, humility ties in with this very, very important piece of information that NA worked for us, but it is not the only solution. However, we are here to only talk about how the NA 12 steps helped us with our recovery. And I think if we go in with that in mind, it can really help us with effectively carrying the message and maintaining humility.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Just a point to what Pooja said, right? I remember going many, many years ago to meet a policeman who was heading the narcotics department in Delhi, right? And we were three of us, and he asked us, so why NA and why not a government treatment center or a harm reduction program? Why NA? And one of us actually said, because NA is the best program in the world. There is nothing to match NA in what it does. Nothing worked for me. So I can tell you nothing is going to work for any addict. The only thing that can work for an addict is Narcotics Anonymous. And the point is, Narcotics Anonymous rates of recovery, if you look at the statistics of how many people come into NA and stay in NA and go beyond 5 years clean, are very, very low. Our relapse rates are very, very high. And we can see that in meetings, right? Hundreds of newcomers come, but hundreds of them do not stay. And we need to be aware of that. We are not the be all and end all of recovery from drug addiction. We are one pathway for sure, but we are not the complete pathway. To say that is not the truth, and it is also a commentary on other recovery programs that are being run, whether they are being run by the government, whether they are being run by semi government organizations or anybody. And it is not our job to comment on how other programs work. It's a really important thing to remember. It might be the best for me, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the best for everybody. So that's an important thing to remember. Raman?
Yes, very, very nice share there, Amitabh. Thanks. That was fantastic. Yeah. So, so yeah, I mean, I think humility also relates to the 10th tradition, because especially when it comes to professionals, and when we talk about disease and all that, they might disagree it's a disease, but we don't need to really argue. Like it says in the basic text, we follow that disease concept because it suits us. So I think humility is very, very interrelated with the 10 traditions, especially in PR. Thank you.
Thank you, Raman. Pooja?
So another thing, I think, which is part of humility is not getting into arguments and confrontations with professionals. I think it can really work against us if we get into arguments and basically into highly confrontational situations with them. So that for me as well would tie into humility.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like we always say before a PR presentation or a PR activity, right? We are representing Narcotics Anonymous. No one is representing themselves. That's a really important thing to remember. And that is our next point, right? And Divya, I want you to share something on this. Do remember the NA program is about we and not I. What does that mean, Divya, in your experience?
That it's where we go in for a PR presentation and we share our personal stories to set context only, right? And that's where the I ends. It's my story. This is how NA helped me. And then we go into very quickly a we program of this is what Narcotics Anonymous is. Just I wanted to say something when Pooja was talking also that a very powerful line here, and it's taken from a program, is we have no opinion on outside issues, right? So we can't comment on a lot of the other questions that are being thrown at us with regards to, oh, does this treatment work or does that religious facility work? And that's a very powerful line, that we are here as Narcotics Anonymous only, and we have no opinion on anything else. We're come to talk about NA alone.
Thank you.
Sorry, I tangentied a bit.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Let me ask someone else. Zaid, what does that mean? You want to answer that maybe in your experience, that it is a we program, not an I program when we go out and face?
Thank you, Amitabh, Zaid and Addict. Amitabh, I'm in a very weird situation, lots of animal sacrifice and all that. I don't think I'm in the
Okay.
mindset to
It's
talk.
okay.
Thank
It's
you.
okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's okay.
yeah,
Sorry. Please
thanks.
carry on. Okay. Bappa?
Yeah, I raised my hand because I have relevant experience with this one at least 4 or 5 times, more than that maybe. So let's imagine me and few other NA members are have gone to meet an official explaining NA to that person, right? So in the conversation leads to what Narcotics Anonymous is. And we have been using addicts, now we are in recovery, and this person is impressed. And invariably, it leads to a question about the individual who's making a presentation. It's a question about, let's say, my background, what drugs do I use, what is my status in life. So you have to be very aware in those situations, because once you answer a question about you, the conversation immediately becomes a rabbit hole into your background. You become important. So this is something that I learned over time, to deflect a question, not contradict the person, not saying I can't answer that, which is very awkward, to deflect the question in a way that the question glides towards Narcotics Anonymous as a whole, and the individuals become less important. So this is something I picked up with quite a few presentations, that the questions are invariably directed towards that individual who's making that presentation.
Papa, that is such an important point, right? Many times in a PR presentation, especially with journalists, right? If you're doing a press conference, and I've done quite a few, if you go on and reveal details about your personal life, for example, if I shared in a interaction with the press that I am a travel agent and that I am in the travel business, they might ask me a few questions about my business, right? So, what sort of travel agent are you? Do you do inbound travel? Do you do outbound travel? And stuff like that. And that is not what NA is really going to be here to talk about, right? So, I have to be very careful what I say, right? I could say I'm a professional or that I have my own business. That's fine, right? What business it is, I need to be careful, right? I need to remember that we're here to talk about what NA is going to offer, right? And our message is always so simple, right? That an addict, any addict, can lose the desire to use and find a better way to live. That's it. That's all we need to talk about. That an addict, any addict, you know, that's all. We don't need to add stuff to our message. That's very important. Thank you, Papa. Let's move on. Unless anyone has anything else to say. Someone who hasn't said anything, you want to go ahead? Basil, from Riyadh, you want to add anything to this? Rajiv, Recovery Rocks.
Amitabh, I'm listening. In fact, I'm outside, so it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's move on quickly. Do emphasize the word narcotics does not refer to any particular drug. NA recovery is available to all addicts regardless of the drugs used. And those of us who've studied a bit of NA history, right, we know that the name Narcotics Anonymous at that time when NA started out was associated with a particular drug. Narcotics users were people who used any drug made out of opium, right? That's the association. And over years and years, through many presentations, NA has tried to move away from that thought process, you know, because the association of the word narcotics, people's minds, in professionals' minds, would always be this is about heroin, right? Or this is about morphine. But whenever we do presentations, we always talk about the origin of the word narcotics and what NA really is, right? And then we present our data, right? We do presentations and we show that we attract addicts who use different sort of drugs, whether they are stimulants, whether they are tranquilizers, whether it's alcohol, whether it's weed, and you see the percentages, and professionals will then understand, yes, NA attracts members from all sorts of a drug past. Anybody else want to add something to that? Eric, you want to add something to that?
Nope. You
Okay,
got it.
I got it. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but I'm just thinking of time as well.
Yeah.
Do give a clear message. Any addict can stop using and lose the desire to use and find a new way to live. What does that mean? Give a clear message. What would be an unclear message? Let's talk about that. Can someone give an example of an unclear message? What is an unclear message when we go out into the public? Reena?
So I think for me, an unclear message, an example of an unclear message would be that NA is a welfare, and it's possibly a rehabilitation facility, that it's not a program, a spiritual program, or somewhere for awareness and for recovery. So I think that could be quite diluted for non-NA members specifically. Thank you.
Thanks, Reena. Thank you. I think Surat has put something in the chat because he's driving and he says, giving up personal opinion and advice. That is an unclear message. Thank you, Surat. Brilliant. Any other examples of giving an unclear message? A funny example? Anybody? Come on, guys. One example.
Yes, addict Pinka.
Hi, Pinka.
So one of the funny example would be like if somebody asks you that I have a divorce going on and also with that I have some criminal charges on me, and if I'll come in NA, so will I get rid of this everything? And if I say him yes, of course you will get rid of this thing. So that would be also kind of unclear message.
Fantastic.
Getting life better is something else, but like assuring somebody or promising somebody that these things will go off, so that is also unclear message, because we have seen people breaking because these changes doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pinka. That was a brilliant example, right?
Recovering addict named Eric.
Yeah, Eric.
Something that sometimes what comes up in presentations, and of course we shouldn't be the ones giving this, but sometimes our audience will ask us questions about other addictions like sexual addiction, gambling addiction, other, like I said, other addictions, or even other fellowships, purposes, and we got to be clear that that's not what we are about, what we hear. And that I've said that when a person comes to Narcotics Anonymous and works the 12 steps, their life changes. And so all of a sudden they start looking at things very differently. So maybe if they have a problem with gambling, they'll actually come to acknowledge they have a problem with gambling and find a solution for it. But it's not what we go to meetings for. We try to keep it straight that Narcotics Anonymous, what our message is, and that's a side issue. Thanks.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant point. Anything else? This is really important, because we think sometimes we hear people say that Narcotics Anonymous is a solution, is a one-stop solution for everything. Are we a one-stop solution for everything? Raman?
Yes, I would like to humbly say that when we are not able to differentiate between religion and a spiritual program, which Narcotics Anonymous, maybe our message is not that clear. And I would like you also to give me an input on this, Amitabh, about saying that this is a spiritual program, not a religious program, and make it a little clearer to the audience, especially the professionals.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to, but I would prefer if someone else sort of answered that question.
Sure.
Uh,
Okay.
Joy Marie, would you want to answer that question? How would you tell a professional that we are not a religious program but a spiritual program? Welcome to the meeting. Do you want to share some experience on that?
Oh, hi, how you going? I'm Joy Marie, I'm an addict. Look, I'm fairly new as in doing the PR role. I'm for Northern Australia service area. So I've actually not engaged in doing, I haven't engaged in doing public presentations at the moment. So yeah, I'm just trying to get as much information as possible from wherever I can get it. Yeah, but I wanted to touch on something before what you were talking about, giving I think it was a
Unclear
a
message.
false message. Yeah, for me, I have a really hard trouble in the meetings where I am with people that go out and relapse and come back and say, "Oh, I've had a lapse," and I'm going, "What is a lapse?" Is do you understand what I'm saying? As far as I'm concerned, you've picked up, you've relapsed, and you should be grateful that you made it back, because so many people go out there, pick up, and they never make it back.
Yeah.
So I really, people that come to me when they're new and they ask me, what's this lapse thing? I see that it's giving people the idea that it's okay to go out and just pick up one. So yeah. But I'll just leave it as that. I just wanted to get on and actually listen. So so thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for contributing. Thank you. Thank you. And really good to have you here. Maybe Donnie, how would we say simply that this is a spiritual program, not a religious program?
Because we don't subscribe to any specific religious beliefs. It is open to the interpretation of the individual. Spiritual can mean about my soul, about a deep belief that I have in something else, as opposed to a very specific dogmatic religious belief that I have to believe in the God that you subscribe to. And so that's how I would explain it to a professional.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Donnie. Neville?
Hi, Nebel Addict. Basically, what I feel is when I'm making the presentation, and I'm sure it would come up in a lot of people when they are actually making a presentation of how they tried everything, including religion. Yeah? So, unless this question is specifically asked, it's already transmitted that is not a program based upon religion. And as one talks about some of the tools which helped us in our story of recovery, it will come out that we are basically doing things which would generally fall within the ambit of spirituality rather than a dogmatic religiosity. Yeah?
Yeah. And I just want to summarize this. When we do presentations, we talk about the spiritual aspects of the program by referring to the 12 steps and the 12 traditions, right? We clearly say in our presentation that our program is a program based on a set of spiritual principles, and we do a brief summary of our steps and traditions, right? We present them to professionals so they understand what we mean when we say, and we talk about a higher power. Thank you, Zaid. We say that it's a God of our understanding, and that is our spiritual approach to as how we treat it, we deal with addiction. Thank you for putting that in the chat, Zaid.
Just to be conscious of time, we have give or take half an hour more and have to get through the don'ts, which will be quite exciting.
No, but we started at 11:20, so we've been going at this for only 35 minutes. Yeah, I know, I know, I know. We're just having fun, Divya. All right. Do give a clear message. Any addict can stop. Oh, we've done that. Do only speak from experience. And Surat wrote in the chat, right? Don't give advice. Don't give. And what does that mean? Do only speak from experience, right? Can someone summarize that quickly? Simon, maybe Vice Chair, Australia.
Thanks. Hi, yeah, Simon Addict. I'm gratefully clean today. Hi, everybody. Look, I was a little bit late, and I do apologise. And it's lovely to see some familiar faces on this meeting. Look, when I was taught to share at a very base level when I came in, my sponsor just said that I had to speak my truth. And I think that relays into how we do the presentations. Is that I say to people that my story is just one of the many stories that appears in Narcotics Anonymous. I'm just one addict and there's one version of it. People look very different to me that come in. I came in from the streets with no job, no education, nothing like that. So, and I had to develop a sense of community and understanding, and believing in a God of my understanding helped me to do that. I believed in the power of the program. I saw it working in other people's lives, and I genuinely got to feel that when I got here. So I think that relaying your truth will always come through with an authenticity in a public presentation. It doesn't mean that you have to divulge every piece of information, personal information. I mean, when we are representatives of the organization, we're not doing an H&I where we're telling our own story as such, and our drug story and our using story, but we can allude to the points that made a difference for us when we came in.
Fantastically put, Simon. Thank you. Thank you. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. And just for information, we are recording this meeting and we will anonymize it. There will be no faces. We will remove the faces, but the recording of this meeting, once it's anonymized, we will be putting it out there for the fellowship. So people who've not attended can then refer to it. It sort of becomes like a training video, anonymized training video, and you can listen to it at leisure. Maybe you can learn something from it, or maybe it can help you engaging in PR going forward. There might be some ideas that you hadn't heard about, which you hear here. So that's the reason why we are recording it. No anonymity will be broken. We will make sure we do this for every workshop. In fact, I'll put a link. You can check out all the previous workshop the APF has done on this YouTube channel that we have. And the good thing about YouTube is you can use subtitles to listen to what's being shared. So maybe you can choose a subtitle in, say, Farsi or in Bahasa or in Arabic and understand the audio. So that's going forward. Let's move on quickly. We're the last, I think, of the do's. Do's state clearly that Narcotics Anonymous is separate from any facility and from another fellowship, from other fellowships. Why is that important? Why do we say this very clearly that NA is not affiliate? Like one of our traditions talks about this, right? Very clearly. NA is not affiliated to any outside organization or outside enterprise. Less problems. It's one of my favorite traditions. Tradition 6, right, Eric? Yeah.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. You put me on the spot there, man. No. Yeah, no, it's we do that in the meetings, not just because it's in the traditions, or I should say it is in the traditions. What's really important is making it clear to our audience that Narcotics Anonymous is independent, and we only have our one purpose, right? Just carrying the message, because they could be confused. They might think that maybe we're, part of the drug rehabilitation work, or what do you call drug rehabs, anything like that, that we are independent and by ourselves. It's really important to do that. Thank you. I got to go.
Yeah, yeah. So when we go and do PR presentations to professionals, right, especially addiction professionals or the government, governments and addiction professionals run what is universally known as a harm reduction program, and there are billions of dollars that are spent on harm reduction, right? And we often get asked this question: what is NA's opinion on harm reduction? What would be our reply? Yeah, Simon, Donnie?
Uh, I've been asked that many times, and the way that I respond to that is I say we recognize that Narcotics Anonymous is just one of the modalities that people use to get well, and so what we like to do is we present our version of the program that has worked for us, so that if it relates to somebody that they might come along and use that, and we respect that others need to exist for different people that are out there. So I really recognize and say that I really do respect the other versions of it. At the end of the day, we all know they're going to try that and end up with us anyway. And because we are the place that gives the relief and the freedom from active addiction. But yeah, no, as I said, I always firstly, in the first instance, pay respect to the others, and just acknowledge that we're just one of those choices for people that we would love to be there for them when they need
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Thanks, Simon. We talked about this, right? We are not the best at everything, right? Donnie, you wanted to share something? You're on mute. Yeah.
I didn't know that I did, but yeah, our sixth tradition says that we don't endorse. It's real simple. As was just noted, there are other organizations available, but we don't have an opinion about it because we don't know what they do. And for us to speak, that would be us speaking out of turn. We need to just stay in our own lane and speak about what we know.
Yeah, but Donnie, sometimes it's not as simple. I'll give you an example, right? We went to do an HNI in the biggest prison in North India, right? It has 10,000 prisoners, maybe 3,000 using addicts inside, right? And we were desperate to start an HNI meeting. And the warden of the prison asked us pointedly, we run a spiritual yoga healing and harm reduction program in our hospital, in our detoxification center. Are you going to be in conflict with that? Are you going to be sharing in your HNI meetings that that is crap, and that the only thing that works is Narcotics Anonymous? Because that is going to knock everything we do. We spend, billions of whatever rupees or whatever on it. Are you going to do that?
Is that the question you're asking me?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, we as was noted, we don't have a monopoly on recovery.
right.
And so we're happy to, as we say, in cooperation rather than affiliation. We're not affiliated with those outside organizations, but we cooperate with them. We can work side
Yeah.
by side.
Yeah. And then can we also say that we attract many addicts who are on harm reduction medication in NA? Our third tradition talks about the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using, right? We can say that, right?
Yeah,
Anybody is
absolutely.
welcome. Anybody is
Yeah,
welcome in NA.
absolutely. And as you said, everybody's welcome here because that's not something that we can quantify. I can't tell you what your desire is.
Right. Yeah. It works out and why says it really beautifully. We are not the judge and jury of desire. In case you guys haven't read it, read Tradition 3 from that book. It's a beautifully written piece. All right, so let's move on to don'ts. Divya, since you're really in a hurry, we are done with the do's.
Thank you.
You wanna take a few?
I'm really liking this session, so thank you for this. Well, it's just the opposite of the do's. So don't dress inappropriately. Is the first one, which is opposite of what was covered in the do's. There have been conflicts that I have seen with regards to, I think also Raman touched upon this. What happens when you show up with, well, you're dressed appropriately, but you show up with tattoos, right? Is that okay? I just want opinions from the room.
We NA members love our ink, man. Napa, do you have tattoos?
Yeah, but it's not visible.
Oh, okay.
Anyone
Anyone?
else dealt with tattoos, piercings, how that was viewed? Go ahead, Papa.
Yeah, I just want to come back to that point that Raman was making. So, so in your life, you could have been for example, you could have been a musician and you have dreadlocks, and you're still a musician in recovery and you have long hair, and you sports jewelry, or you have tattoos on your face, or they are visible. So this is who you are. So I don't think NA is asking us to change this. We make an effort to be presentation with the apparels. So even if you have a facial tattoo and you have an earring, you're still trying to make an effort to be presentable. As I think Rina, she put it very nicely, that you're trying to dress up as if you would do for an interview or for a formal social occasion, and you try and make that effort. I think that what percolates to the person opposite you.
Yeah, but Baba,
Fantastic.
I've heard people suggesting in NA that if you're going for an interview and you have a tattoo that's visible, laser it and get rid of it. You'll never get a job otherwise.
See, these are all interpretation stuff. If it's for me, like my tattoo is right up here, so it's possible for me to hide it. What happens to the dude who has a facial tattoo? You can't hide it. That doesn't mean he doesn't have a life. He doesn't have a hope of joining work somewhere or being a part of a prior presentation team. That's absurd. It's just who you are. And based on our using or based on our life before, we have these permanent stuff on our bodies sometimes.
Donnie, you had your hand up for a bit. In the meantime, Basel is written in Saudi society, certain types of accessories are considered to be outside social norms and may be culturally or legally unacceptable. That's very, very interesting. So, if someone from visiting countries find themselves in Saudi, then that might be a problem if they join PR
Yes.
because it's culturally unaccepted. Pinka?
Yes, Addict Pinka. So regarding the this dress thing and tattoos, so this is my personal view that when I was not an addict, so I used to assume like how addict look like. So the picture that used to come that I have seen from movies and everywhere. So he's a person with tattoos and kind of rings and chains and wearing t-shirts and saying "fuck the government." So this was the kind of image that was in my mind, and similarly, I think that now the people that are like government or the management or those people, so they must have been assuming these things like this is a kind of addict. So when they see us that we are recovered addicts, so it is like they assume that now we are wearing the same kind of things that they are wearing. We are now we're changed. So this is their mind of thinking. So like going in a workshop or going in a peer presentation wearing lots of heavy rings and tattoos, and so maybe there is a kind of confusion in their mind that whether he is a recovered person or whether he's. So this is my view. Thank you.
Thank you, Pinka. Pinka touched upon a really nice relatability angle. And I'd just like to share a line on personal experience. I travel the country for work, just work, right? And when I visit certain parts of the country, I wear certain outfits. I'm dress more Indian for certain parts of the country. than I do for certain others. So it's just a relatability angle, and we should find ourselves doing that when we do PR as well. Amitabh?
Yeah, I think Basil wanted to come in from Riyadh on cultural nuances that we need to keep in mind. Basil? Yeah, please go ahead, Basil. Unmute and go ahead, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot. My name is Basim Nadik. Well, I remember that one of my Chennai visits that addicts used to judge us so hardly, and even other parts of people. So they look at us, they try to find anything on us. For me, I'm an open kind of person that works necklace and bracelets and these things. So I've been judged, and because I was wearing a hand necklace and a neck on my neck. So that reminds me that I have to respect or to remember that these people used to be like me. I used to judge everything. So when we go there, they will try to find anything on us. It's not about anything that we do. That's it. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Shukran, Basil. And I think Zaid has something really important that he shared in the chat. I'll just read it out. It's an interesting thing. I have dreadlocks that touch the ground. I neatly put it in a bun and wear a covering. What Bapada said is how I feel. This is who I am, and NA works for me. It can also be viewed from the perspective of breaking the stigma. So, Zaid made this clear, right? What he does is he makes it presentable, right? He doesn't leave his dreadlocks touching the ground. He doesn't go in the public as a NA representative. But it's not, he doesn't shave his hair, right? He ties it in a bun and he covers it. And that's, he's still being himself, but he's also making himself presentable, which is what we're talking about, really. Okay, let's move on. Don't debate outside issues involving social, political matters, regulations, programs, or other fellowships. We touched upon this, right? We don't get into debates, right? The most common question asked by journalists or even professionals in PR presentations is, what is your view on soft drugs like marijuana and cannabis? And what is your view on hard drugs like heroin and fentanyl, right? What do we say to that? Personally, I think weed's pretty cool, right? World would be a cooler place. That's my personal opinion, right? That is not an NA opinion, right? So whatever my personal beliefs about a particular drug might be, I need to keep my mouth shut. I do not share this. I don't know why I share this here, but I shouldn't have. But yeah, so what does that mean? Not get into debates, not get into arguments, because people will ask all sorts of questions. We have to be ready, right? We have to be prepared. What do we do? How do we react? Anyone quickly? Focus on carrying the message is what Basil says. Donnie, you're whispering, but you're on mute.
Rena has her hand up.
Yeah. Rina.
So I think for me is like another member said, you have to just divert or transition back their questions to the NA message and not go too much and encouraging them with follow-up questions and continue carrying on the NA message, what the program does, what has been the statistics. I think that would be the most ideal. I think he spoke about it when in regards to personal experience overshadowing the NA message. So I think that would work here too.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Rina. That was brilliant. Incredible clarity you have, Rina. Why don't you join the PR work group going forward?
I have messaged APF and but I'm very, very new in recovery. I'm only 72 days clean.
No,
So
you have tremendous clarity. Tremendous. So you'll be a great
Thank you.
asset. Please. Yeah.
Thank you.
Neville?
Yeah, basically, I think the best way to answer a question such as the one you posed, Amitabh, is just mentioning that this is a program which is not restricted to any particular drug. It is a program of recovery from all drugs, and it is a program of dealing with addiction rather than any specific drugs.
Fantastic.
And that's why everybody is welcome.
Absolutely fantastic. Our first step, very kindly, they changed the word, from the original 12 steps to addiction. And that was the reason, right? Because when we say addiction, we specify that we are about all drugs. We really don't care. All right, unless if someone has something to say, let's move on, right? Do not get into arguments, debates. Don't get into arguments with authorities, right? This is a really, really important thing because we are very passionate, right? We feel things very deeply, especially like we keep sharing this. No, we are in the business of saving lives, right? You hear this, I've heard this often in meetings, members share, we are in the business of saving lives, right? And so we feel very deeply about recovery, right? We believe carrying the message is the most important thing we do. We have this passion, right? And that sometimes that passion can get us into arguments with authorities, and it can happen in an HNI setup, right? Because HNI is also part of PR, right? We are dealing with the outside world through HNI. So something like that happens, right? If we go and do an HNI meeting and we see, for example, I often go to HNI meetings and I see the clients. We are now calling them clients. We don't call them patients anymore because the professionals like calling them clients. Um, we go there and they are made to sit on the floor, right? And we are made to sit on these big chairs, and to me that's like a problematic thing, right? Because the guy sitting in front of me is me. He's just in a rehab. I'm not, right? So I have a huge problem with that. But do I then look at those institution guys and say, hey, listen, don't do this, man. Either we sit on the floor or we don't do the HNI. Is that okay? Is that an appropriate response from me? Anyone? Come on, guys. Someone? Eric from Guam?
I'm Eric and I'm an addict. No, that doesn't sound like a good response. It looks like you're inviting a debate or possibly even an argument. Maybe if it was me in that position, maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I would just push my chair back and sit down on the floor with them instead of trying to make them change their format or their rules. I would just volunteer myself to bring myself down to their level to be among them.
Beautiful. That is such a smart way to respond, right? That's why they tell me to stay away from HNI meetings. Neville?
Basically, when I'm going for an HNI, one of the do's and one of the don'ts is I'm not commenting on how the rehab functions. I am not supposed to be having an opinion on that. Taking it to another extreme, like many years ago in one of the largest prisons in Pune, we used to do HNI presentations. However, over time, as we realized in their free time, everyone was being beaten and made to sit in the classroom and nobody was listening because many of them were not even addicts. And we, over time, decided to discontinue because we felt we were not being helpful.
Yeah.
So both things can be done.
Yeah, and that is a really important thing that Neville shared, right? You don't get into arguments. You could have a problem with how a rehab is functioning, right? But that's a cumulative decision that you will take outside the rehab, right? The HNI committee can meet after a presentation on their own and say, look, we are not comfortable going to a particular institution because we don't like what is happening there. And you can send a message then to that particular institution later on that look, thank you so much, but we are not able to fulfill our commitments going forward. You could do that, but not at the institution itself, right? Great, fantastic. Thank you. Let's move on quickly. We've covered almost everything. We are almost at the end. Um, we're going to come into something that's a lot of fun. We've talked about don't exaggerate or glorify the NA program. Don't claim the NA program is better than any other programs. Don't emphasize using days while sharing an NA message of recovery. Why is that important? Why is it important not to share how many kilos of stuff did you use, right? I remember when I was in rehab, and all of us would like tell stories, and we would exaggerate the shit out of our stories because we wanted to be the best using addicts in history. So we'd use shit like I've like dropped more stuff than you've smoked in your life. So do you go and do that in an NA presentation environment? Do you tell people how many kilos you moved from one state to the other, or how many drugs you manufactured in your basement, and that you're a qualified chemist without being a chemist? Do
May
we do
I,
that?
Yeah.
Amitabh?
Sure,
Yeah,
sure,
Amitabh.
Raman.
Yes, so yeah, fantastic. Yes. So, basically, once again, we go back to the basic of, saying that it's not about personal stories of using, but that NA is a viable program of recovery which is based on evidence of millions of addicts all over the world recovering. This is the message we want to give, that any addict can find a drug free life in Narcotics Anonymous. So, too much of sharing about the past is very, very counterproductive because we are not getting the message across.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Raman. Fantastic. Surat, you haven't shared. Now I think you're in a better place. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Amitabh. Hi, guys. I'm an addict. My name is Surat. I'm grateful to be alive and clean today. So, in my experience, I can share two of my experiences. While doing HNI, uh, my sharing of my using life would trigger the people. As Amitabh refers, they are referred to as clients nowadays. They would refer to the people who were in the rehab. So after the presentation, they would come to me and they would ask, "Okay, you used to cope here. Where your peddler situated in these locations?" So I, diverted the question, and I got the privilege to be in a press meeting for the Kolkata area Narcotics Anonymous. So after the presentation, I was in the panel, and after the presentation, it was my first presentation, and I got a good learning. Bappada was also there with me. So after the presentation, the people from the media would come and they would skillfully try to find out the hotspots of places where these things are available and stuff like that. So if I started bragging on my using in a PR, then as the previous topic was, my message gets diverted.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Surat. Brilliantly put. Eric?
Yeah, recovering addict named Derek. In Hawaii, when we do presentations, we've had one type of presentation that we do, and it's kind of frowned upon in other different parts of the fellowship, and that's we do what they call a community presentation where we kind of just invite everybody in the community. What I mean is law enforcement, priests, psychiatrists, anybody. We would ask our fellowship to go and get people, get a guest list together, and we would invite these people to come and find out about NA. But one of the things is that usually what makes a presentation interesting is listening to an addict's recovery journey. Yeah. And so there's parts of the fellowship where they just absolutely will not do any kind of personal disclosure, but we've seen, when you go to something like that and listening to these, to recovering addicts, they get I'm not trying to manipulate them, but, I'm trying to reach them at a personal level. Right. And so we would have one, maybe one or two speakers, usually two speakers, male, female. And what we do before the presentation is that we would have a practice session, and we talk about their story. And for instance, this one person that he had a horrific accident, killed two people. Right now, this is on one of the smaller islands on Maui. Less population. It's not that many people, but so he said that, you can say something like this: oh, I was in an accident, my life turned around after that because blah, 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 right? But don't give the details on the accident. Don't tell when and where it was. It's simple enough to say you're in this accident. And also when you're sharing, to kind of anonymize it a little bit. Like if I'm going to talk about my father, who worked at the University of Hawaii as a mathematics professor, I would just say my dad worked for the state of Hawaii. That's all I need to say. You know what I mean? We would try to do that. And especially, the thing about sharing about the drug use, somebody in the audience may have been hurt by that, that particular use, or they're going to recoil from that, So in the journey, we're talking about the journey, not the war, right? We're talking about the journey, because basically what you're going to do is like I try to do when I'm talking, especially to when there's newcomers in the room, is to qualify myself as an addict, a little bit of history, but it's about how did I find NA, how it changed my life, and where I'm at today. So that's the kind of presentations we would do. So we totally avoid, telling more stories, as we say. Thank you.
Yeah, and what you just said, Eric, that's like an immortal kind of line. We will immortalize this. We talk about the journey and not the war. Sounds like a basic text line, man. Legendary. We have a legend among us, people.
Hey, I'm gonna get you for that.
Right. Okay, let's move on. We are at the end almost. I think the last one is super interesting. Um, don't accept money or gifts from or give money or gifts to any outside person, professional. Right. That's interesting, right? Don't accept money. I came across a sarcastic post on social media the other day where the post was main speakers getting $50, side speakers are getting $25. You speak for 45 minutes, you get $60. You speak for 30, you get $30. You speak for 15, you get $15. So we obviously that was a sarcastic. I'm hoping it was sarcastic. I think it was. I don't know. Social media, you never know. But what does that mean? Don't accept gifts. You know, what does that mean? I mean, when we um, let me give you an example. It's a culture in a lot of Asian countries that when you go for an event, you will be
Yeah.
greeted traditionally with certain things, right? They might give you a bouquet. Is that okay to refuse? Look, we are from NA, we don't accept gifts, so we don't want this bouquet. Put this fucking bouquet away. We are not taking bouquets. Is that okay, or do we take a bouquet? Can we accept bouquets, people?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is
I
like,
would.
see, just like we, NA tells us that we can recover in our own culture and language, and therefore we respect ourselves for that. We need to also learn respect for other cultures, right? So if the
Yes.
culture says yeah, bouquet or a shawl or a topa, in Mysore you might get a topa on the head, like a topi, I
Yeah.
think I think that is acceptable, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in an HNI setting, maybe it might be. I mean, sometimes clients might offer you a slip of paper with a number on it and whisper in your ear, call my parents when you go out, man. Please, these guys are killing me inside. Please call someone. Maybe we don't take that piece of paper and make that phone call. Pika, sorry.
Yes, Addict Pinka. So regarding the gifts received, so I think the PR and the agenda is not about HNI, but about PR. So they varies from region to region. So it's important. So like me being from Punjab, and over here, like wherever you go, they after that they give you a sropa, like they give you kind of a cloth. So if you deny that, so that means you're in war with them. So
Yeah.
like it varies from region to region. So you have to respect the region, as the previous speaker told. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely, big. A very important point. You cannot insult somebody. You cannot insult somebody. And it's often, in India we do this very often. We've done this in Malaysia as well. It's an Asian culture, right? When someone senior comes to attend your presentation, as a feedback, you go and you give them something as a token of your appreciation for them having come, right? Makes them feel good. And that's important, right? It says we don't give gifts to people, but we might give them a basic text. We might give them a box of sweets. We might give them flowers, just as an appreciation, right? Because it is about public relations. We are not bribing anybody. We are just trying to acknowledge that they took they're very busy. You took your time out. Senior government officials are busy as hell. Doing what? Don't ask me, but they seem to be really busy. So um, we go and acknowledge them. We had in a PR presentation in India, we had the Director General of Police of that state, and he came and he was the senior most official, one of the top officials in a country. And we went after that, and we went to his office, and we thanked him for coming and appreciated his presence at our PR presentation. It meant a big deal. Eric?
Oh, yeah, recovering addict named Eric. In Hawaii, we have exchanges, greetings and stuff. I mean, you go do a presentation and there'd be coffee and donuts or, something like that. But we've had people that are so happy about Narcotics Anonymous that they want to give us money. They want to make a donation. So that's the opportunity to communicate, because that's, after all, what a public information thing is, right? We want them to understand who we are. This is why say we have a seventh tradition that, we're fully self-supporting. So I appreciate the sentiment, but we can't accept, monetary things. I remember also sometimes you get awards. Um, H&I, they showed up for some event, and it's part of the public relation, the relationship stuff, right? Being able to back and forth, right? Continue this relationship. So we would get invited to these different events. And then I think in the old days, we would always decline, and I was the PI chair. I didn't really know any different. I said, yeah, sure, I'll be there. So they gave me a free meal, listening to a bunch of people talk, because this was like we were doing for years. We were doing a presentation to the guardian ad litem, and what that is that they had volunteers that would represent children in court, right? And then the guardians would interface with the parents, and of course, a lot of these people have drug problems, you know. So they'd be good telling them to go to AA, NA. So they wanted to understand, what is Narcotics Anonymous, right? So anyway, we've been doing it for years. We go and we show up. I show up, and I'm sitting there, and they're giving out all these awards, and all of a sudden they go, "Oh, Eric Rogers from Narcotics Anonymous," and I'm like, "Oh my God." And so I had to go up and pick it up and say, I had to say something too. And I really can't remember what I said because I was so flustered about it. I said, "Oh, thank you, Narcotics Anonymous, works," or something like that. And I went back to sat down. And the thing is I think some of those things, it's not a I hate saying black and white, right or wrong. I don't think I was wrong in accepting that. Had they been wanted to give me money or a grant, that would have been unacceptable.
Yeah.
But a little thing like that, and they also do that for the H&I guys that go into prison. Yeah. So I asked them about that, and they said, yeah, they take it. They see it as a personal thing, not for Narcotics Anonymous, which I kind of agreed. I didn't take it down to the area service committee and said, here, this is yours, kind of thing. It's not like World Services, but um, Anyway, that's all I have. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Brilliant. Bappa?
Yeah, just listening to everybody. So, based on a cultural context, if it's about hospitality or if it's about tokens of appreciation, it's insulting and disrespectful to refuse outright. We can't just do that because we exist in a broader social context. Each community exists in the social context. You just cannot do that unless it endangers our tradition seven. So you have to be really mindful. For an example, if somebody offers to pay for your fare, bus fare or fuel to get somewhere, this is a present an opportunity to explain to that person about tradition seven, and you can graciously decline because this is about the tradition, right? So it's a fine balance about what you can do and cannot do. But tradition seven is clear to all of us. We are self-supporting, and we can communicate that. So when an situation like this comes up, it actually gives you an opportunity to say, yes, NA works on it with its own money. It's a addict's money. And all of us pull our resources. That is the reason which gives us the volunteers resources to get to you.
Yeah.
So we can explain that. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Beautifully put, Papa. And Reena has put something in the chat, and I just read that out. Thank you, Reena. If the gift is given to you personally, it's okay to graciously accept or politely decline, depending on the context and your personal boundaries. But it's not considered an NA donation and shouldn't be used on behalf of NA or its service structure. If someone offers a gift or contribution to NA or NAPR, we must decline. This is where Tradition 7 applies directly because it protects NA autonomy, avoids real or perceived endorsements or obligation, and upholds the spiritual principle of self-support. Wow, that is, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
You are you are quite something, Rina. That is pretty good. Anyway, okay, so that's all we have time for. I just had this last example to give. Sometimes we go to HNI meetings here, and they offer us chai, which is tea, right? And sometimes we get into arguments. Should we drink tea? Shouldn't we drink tea? And we start arguing in front of the guy who's offering us tea. So if no, I'm not going to drink tea. I'm not going to. We're not supposed to drink tea. I'm not going to eat a biscuit. What the hell? Why is he giving biscuits with the tea? Look, you have a problem drinking tea at a rehabilitation center. Discuss it before you do the HNI, right? Yeah, it is with sugar, a shitload of sugar, Basil. I actually ask for tea without sugar, and they very graciously give it because I'm diabetic. But do not argue about whether you want to drink a cup of chai or not. Okay, argue before the meeting, right? Do not do it in front of the institution. Okay, it's disrespectful. It shows NA in a bad light, right? So I'm going to do going for an HNI right now, and I'll talk to them in the car. If the guy offers us tea and biscuits, I'm going to drink it. You guys don't want to drink it, whatever. Okay, so that's important to remember. All right, that's all we have. In case you guys didn't know, we have a membership survey running, and I'm pasting the link, the response link in the chat. Do go on to it if you haven't filled it up. The data is going to be, yeah, Pika, I'll come to you. The data is going to be used to help us in our PR presentations with the professionals. It's really important that we present NA as a viable resource in recovery from addiction. This helps us. Professionals look for data from us. Surveys have been running for the last 35 years in Narcotics Anonymous, and the data is used for that particular purpose, right? So it's important that we collect data. We already have about 400 responses. So if you haven't filled it up, it's an anonymous survey. No personal details will be are asked for or stored. So you can be rest assured it's an anonymous kind of collection. If you want to, if you don't want to, it's up to you. Pika?
The question, are you going to ask questions?
Sure, sure. I mean, we can. Let's keep 7 minutes for questions. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this is going to be a long question. Uh, uh, as I can say, I am from Punjab area, and right now I'm doing the PR. I'm representing the PR committee of Punjab. So the things over there, like they're bit complicated. We are basically a very a young fellowship, but the things are the government and the government basically. So they are kneel down. So they desperately wanted to work with us. So continuously they are doing meetings with us. They are doing online meetings with us, and we are not at that capacity and that what to engage with them. So we right now we are having a meeting, online meeting at 1. So they are like different. We go through the traditions, we go through the workshop, but in the reality, and when we are over there, practically different kind of situation they emerge. Like, uh, fortunately, the health minister over there, so he knows a quite bit of NA. So over there are also AIMS director and DGPs, and so they ask questions, and they ask like for example, where is your where is your office? So through their question, I came to know that we don't have office in India, and lots of things come there like that we have to answer over there. Like we can't say wait for a second. I'm going to call my sponsor and I'll ask for that, or I'm going to call somebody and the limits they want to go to any limits. uh, Last last month they were offering that give us a list of people and we'll give them employment through you, and lots of things, you know? And the like in how many jails can you go regularly? Like there are about like 38 jails, and there are very less people doing service. So the thing is, when we know our traditions, we know our limits, and we go there, we tell them that we get confused, right? We get confused, and we'll say them, we'll answer you back. So when we come and we do a meeting, and then in meeting most of the, like majority we say no. It's okay to say no. So we say no, but then what happens? The things and the things start getting it start getting individually, like group wise. People from the groups, people from the rehabs, they contact the government and they start doing these things with them because they always every time they need people, so they start doing the things with them. So in the all the scenario gets confused, like the new members and every like people, they don't even know that are we going coming from NA, are we going to share about NA, are we going to share about the anonymity, and lots of things.
Peter,
So
what is your question? Um, is
yeah,
your
now
question is your
now
question
I
no
am coming to the question.
let me just summarize it for you. Is your question that uh, Punjab has a serious drug problem, the government is really interested in trying to do something about it, and thinks NA is the only way that can really make a difference, and they want NA to engage with them actively and carry out its program in all over Punjab, and you don't have the resources to carry that out,
No,
and
this is not the question.
then what is the question?
The question is that whenever we are bound by some traditions, whenever we go say straight away we say no, they started asking for help, or even I'll not say that they start asking help. People individually go and stick with them. Like there is,
Right.
for example, there is a very big movement going with the government, that is Yuddh Nashe Virudh something, and they ask us to collaborate with them and this and say about the government is doing very good. So we refused. We said that actually this is against us. So what happened? It didn't stop. Like people from every groups and every areas, they are going with the government individually, but they're
Right.
using NA. So they're
NNA.
diluting actually. So what
Right.
should we do as a
As a
like
PR
ASC?
committee. ASC
Ah,
and PR.
yeah.
Right. So question that
So
Pika is
so
asking is, let me just clarify it for everybody. The question that Pika is asking is, he's explained the situation. uh, Individual members, once NAPR in Punjab says, no, we can't do this at the level you are asking of us, individual members reach out to the government and say, okay, we'll do it, right? Members from groups who are also maybe associated with rehabs. So what should be ASC Punjab and the PR committee of ASC Punjab, what should be their response to something like this happening? That's the question. Anybody? Ronnie?
They should reach out to the individual members, not to the facility or the committee where they're going, and talk and ask why if the service structure was created by the groups, we serve the groups, but they can ask the groups if they could consider, because it gives a disunifying message of Narcotics Anonymous.
So what Donnie is saying, Pika, is that the PR committee and ASC Punjab should reach out to those members individually. If they get to know a member is individually reaching out to the government and explain to them about the reason a service structure in Punjab exists, right? It's about we, it's not about I, and try and explain to them that concept that it's about us carrying the message. It's not about an individual. Educate them.
Yeah, thank you. But one fun part is also that even all the groups they have got separated. So one of the groups are they are saying they are going with the ASC, and like half of the groups, not the group, like even the each group, like they have separated. Half are going with them, and half are going. They say that no, we are going for we are doing good. We are going for the government. So it's kind of a very complicated situation.
Right. Donnie?
Yeah, the message is that, and the purpose that we created the service structure, that the groups created the service structure, is so that the groups can focus on what the groups are supposed to do, which is carry the message to the addict. Right. And if they're able, if you as a committee are able to explain that to the groups, that is why the group created the service structure, to serve them, so that the groups could focus on their primary purpose, which is to carry the message.
Would it also be okay, Donnie, I'm asking this question, that to communicate with the government, that the official communication of NA Punjab should be with ASC Punjab and the PR committee in Punjab, that we are the official NA representatives and that all communications be routed through us? Would that be okay? Communicate that to the government of Punjab?
If it was me, what I would do is I would say that an individual doesn't speak for the fellowship. They speak for themselves.
Right.
And that we don't, and that we don't want to create a disunifying message, because it looks unprofessional to you from our perspective. We don't want you to look poorly upon us, that it appears that we are disorganized and that we don't have. But yeah, to let them know that this is the committee that was created to carry this message to you.
Right. Bappa?
Yeah, I think the Punjab AAC should invite all these groups to have a conversation about whether they can or cannot work in a cooperation with the government. Now, that should be a decision that the entire AAC follows. Have your arguments in the AAC. Obviously, there will be differences of opinion, but that doesn't mean or should not mean that the groups or individuals who do not agree with any decision on any context get to work on their own. That is just not healthy. So there should be a conversation, because from here I don't get the entire context of what is exactly happening, and why is there so much interest in the groups to actually work with the government when the AAC decides we cannot for whatever reason. So there should be more conversations amongst you guys. Get the groups, get the individuals in an AAC meeting and debate why you think the NA cannot work in cooperation with the government, or NA can work in cooperation with the government. Whatever be the logic, the conversation needs to happen.
So, Baba, are you saying that maybe organize a Unity Day kind of event, invite all the groups and have this discussion? Is that something they could do, the PR committee and ASC
Possibly
Punjab?
because it sends a very split message. The thing that you suggested, even if the AAC communicates, hey, we are the guys you can communicate to, but there are a bunch of other guys and groups who may be talking about NA. You don't know what they're talking
Right.
about. So it sends a very split message, right? What NA is and what it's a corporation, not affiliation, seven tradition. I don't know what is in danger here. I don't know the context, but it should be one voice.
Yeah, and the unique problem with Punjab also is that the groups are spread all over a state, which is quite big. It's not that it's restricted to a few cities. Punjab NA is rural, semi-urban, and urban. So these groups are, they are like, 30 odd groups which are spread all over, not just in a few cities. So it's a very widespread kind of diverse fellowship in Punjab. So, Pika, do those ideas make sense to you?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. The point is that we actually we are not able to explain the groups that government has their own intentions. Like the
Yes,
only intention with the government is that the election are coming, and this is happening all the time. And
yes,
they only want to let the people hear that this government has helped a lot for the
in,
Greeks. So this actually we are not able to explain, or I can say, uh, like we everybody should get the point.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I guess you'll have to try and explain that to them that governments have their own agenda. NA is not part of a government agenda. That is why NA is not affiliated to the government, right? That has to be explained. It can only happen through conversation, Pika. The more you talk with each other, the better the understanding will develop. Neville, I mean, you're the last
Uh,
person to have a say on this,
uh,
and we got to wind up.
Okay. Basically, it is very, very important, which goes back to the earlier points of preparing for a PI presentation. This needs to be anticipated. I'm not saying it will always be a solution, but if in the original meeting, which you're having, and the follow up meetings, one manages to impress upon the government that we can best help you by not associating in politicking or any other way and be independent, and this can really help solve the problem, which will reflect for you. Give it from their point of view, then they would not be so open to members individually approaching them. So this needs to be looked at.
Thanks, Neville. That's all we have for this afternoon, the Saturday morning, Friday evening for some of us, late in the evening for some of us. Thank you, everyone who's made this effort to come and join us. This was a lot of fun. Anybody wants to give us a feedback on what they thought this workshop was like? Did they enjoy it? Did they have fun? Did they learn something? Anyone want to say some nice or not so nice words?
Yes, thank you, Eric Pinka.
Okay, Pika.
Thank you, Amitabh, and thank you, everybody. So this was very helpful. Actually, I was having a diary and I noted the things.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Pika, for participating and helping us do this. Anyone else?
Uh, Thank you very much. Really appreciated, Amitabh. As you probably know, we are having a PR Learning Day next weekend, and that is why it was very, very valuable, the information that came out of this. Thank you very, very much for your service.
It's just not me, Neville. There's a whole PR work group behind this. Okay, it's not. I'm just the face, and it's sort of seems to appear that It's not me. Okay, there are a lot of people. There's Divya, the PR coordinator, Eric, many members of the work group. Okay, Bapa, they've all been really involved with this. Eric from Guam.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eric from Guam. I appreciate all you guys have done. My main intention for attending this was because through all this PR week and the efforts that we in Guam here that have been doing, we're pushing our PSA out through some radio stations, and there is some talk that we might possibly have the opportunity or we're trying to have the opportunity to do an on-air interview, such as the one that we saw on the chat as well. So, in preparation, we're having an ASC meeting tomorrow, and that is where we're going to start putting that plan together so that we are ready if the opportunity arises. So I wanted to come here and get all this PR information as much as I can soak up, and hopefully we can put something good together. Thank you very much for all you guys' hard work.
Pinka, just to answer your question, we have a PR work group, WhatsApp group. I'll add you to that. And also, we meet once a month on the last Saturday of the month. And absolutely, Basil, I'll share this presentation in the PR group, in the the FD group. You can have the presentation. It's just a poster we made many, many years ago. And we've run this as a training exercise in a few places. So we will share that. And we will add you, Pinka, to the work group. And like I said, last Saturday of the month, we meet on Zoom at the same time. And you can be part of it and help us grow and better understand PR. All right, Charles, you want to lead us out, or you want to say something and lead us out in the V version of the Serenity Prayer, unless anybody else want to say something before we wind up?
All good for me. Thank you. Joined in late, but it was really, really helpful for us. Thank you, Luca.
You want to
There's
tell
no one
us
else?
about the podcast you guys did, this radio thing? Sounded very cool, man.
Oh, it was amazing. One of the top radio stations in Malaysia. So we reached out and asked them, hey, we're wanting to run a PSA audio only, the video that we did last year. And then they hit back and say, why don't you guys come for the podcast instead? And I say, oh, amazing, but make sure it's audio, make sure it's only our first name. And then we really got comfortable. We were all very nervous, but after the first question, I think we all just immersed in it, and it'll come out amazing. I'll share with the group once it's live.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for your service. Thank you so much. Malaysia PR is rocking. All right. Lead us out in the prayer.
Let's all have a moment of silence, everyone, for the still suffering addicts in this room. May they all find recovery. Moment of silence begins now. God, grant us the serenity to accept
things we cannot change,
courage
to change things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference.